Today, the UK announced it narrowly avoided a recession. New figures from the country's Office for National Stats shows that between October and December, the UK's output was a flat 0%. Following all the money moves this week is CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Inocencio. Thanks so much for being here with us, Ramy. So let's just talk about where the money is moving to start.
Sure there. Hi there, Shanelle. Now, looking at Turkey right now, because Turkey and the earthquake, of course, have been top of mind, one of the biggest arcs for this week. If you think U.S. inflation is rough at 8.5% or UK inflation is historic at over 10%, try about 60% inflation with Turkey. Take a look at this chart, and you can see for yourself. Now, this is before the earthquake, and because of the government's unconventional, many would say wrong policies, there you go. Look at that, 58% at the bottom of your screen versus the U.S. 8.5%. Now, the fear now after this quake is that that will get even more expensive for Turks to buy food and gas and to heat their homes and even just to get around for transport. Now, that comes off new forecasts that Turkey's economy will now take a big hit because money will have to go to recovery and not to growth. That was already only forecast to grow 3% this year. But the quake could shave off 2 percentage points from that. I spoke to a longtime Turkey expert Wolf Piccolo at Teneo Consulting. Take a listen.
2%, I will say, in my view, is the worst case scenario. There is a chance that it can be reduced. The other important item to flag here is the potential impact on tourism. Tourism is extremely critical. It's around $35 billion of tourism revenues in a good year. Usually is this time of the year, the Europeans are booking their holidays in Turkey. The question is whether they got scared by what they saw on TV.
Tourism makes up about 10% of Turkey's economy. Looking at the U.S., it's only about 3%. Obviously, people aren't thinking about that right now. And really, just wrapping this up here, I'm told that it's still far too early to put an estimate on earthquake reconstruction. But to put this in perspective, Turkey's last major quake in 1999 that killed about 18,000 people, that one cost about $20 billion.
Wow, and the price tag is bound to be much, much, much higher. Listen, Ramy, the other kind of big story that this week that we continue to talk about is this Chinese surveillance balloon. Clearly, there was significant fallout. The House of Representatives voted unanimously in favor of condemning China because of this. The Secretary of State had to cancel a meeting in China. He was supposed to be meeting with Xi Jinping. So clearly, there was diplomatic fallout. But does the fallout go beyond that?
Yes, absolutely. There is fallout in terms of the money trail. Chinese stocks listed in the U.S. felt that pop after the U.S. military shot that balloon out of the sky. Take a look at this chart that we have for you, too. You're going to take a look at the NASDAQ's Golden Dragon China Index. Now, this is a grouping of major Chinese companies publicly listed in the U.S. It includes Baidu, which is sort of like the Google of China, and Alibaba, which is sort of like the Amazon of China. Now, on Monday, February 6th, look on the left-hand side of your screen there. This index fell in reaction to that shoot down on Saturday, but it's since rebounded just a bit through at least Thursday. I spoke to Andy Mock. He is a U.S.-China watcher at the China Center for Globalization in Beijing. He told me Beijing looks at the rise and fall of the markets, but take a listen.
Well, it certainly is not the primary consideration. So we have to recognize that the ideological foundation of China is very, very different from the United States. That being said, of course, any country, especially a large, complex country like China, really cannot function as well as it could without effective capital markets, without paying attention to investor sentiment. So I think the political calculations are, of course, complex and much more nuanced.
So on top of the money, Mock says China's leadership, the Chinese Communist Party ideology, also weighs in, along with impacts to Chinese society and economy. But he is still hopeful the two countries can actually get through this balloon incident. We know that the relationship is the most important in the world. But as for Washington ideology, China's balloon could actually crystallize U.S. political support for more money there, and that's towards defense, maybe to more arms sales to Taiwan and other U.S. allies. And we've already been reporting that the balloon this week is part of a fleet that's flown over more than 40 countries and 5 continents. So a lot of concern out there.
There certainly is, Ramy. Thank you very much.
You bet.